Relationship, Identity, Mission. RIM. This is an acronym that Focus uses to help give direction for our lives. You see, your relationships help form your identity, and your identity gives you your mission. Today, we've got a very special guest and a good friend who's going to share with us how her relationship with God, her parents, and her sport has led her to where she's at today. We are the Varsity Catholic Podcast. Hello. Welcome back to the Varsity Catholic Podcast. I'm Brady Steir, back here in our virtual studio once again with Rye. Rye, how you doing today?
What's up? I am stoked for today. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, this is going to be nice because we're not here just with Rye. We're here with our next guest as well. And if you're a softball player or fan, you're going to love this one.
You're in the right spot.
Not only do we have Rye's expertise, we have another softball coach's expertise joining us today. Okay,
we have a more experienced softball coach joining us today.
That's right. So joining us today is the woman from, wait for it, Wahoo, Nebraska. Did I say that right?
You sure did.
That's right. Wahoo, Nebraska is a real place. She coaches softball up at the University of Minnesota Duluth, Go Bulldogs, where they are consistently in the top 40 of D2 teams. She's helped coach them to their first conference tournament championship in 22 years, has coached their first team All-American, has helped increase team batting averages while decreasing team ERAs, which that's a good combo to have on your team.
Let's
And she
go.
even leads Sunday devotionals for her team when they're on the road. Welcome to the podcast, Coach Carly Brousek.
Guys, I am so excited to be here today.
Let's go. We're happy to have you. This is exciting. How are you doing? You doing well?
Doing good. It's a beautiful day in Duluth, Minnesota. There's no snow on the ground yet, so I can't complain.
Is that what equates to a beautiful day in Duluth? Is like there's no snow, so it's beautiful.
I didn't have a winter coat on today, and I said, this is a blessing.
Oh,
So, pretty good day.
That is a gift.
By the time this gets released, you might have some snow, but there's not today.
Not today. You visited?
I actually visited Duluth back in the day, and they brought a California girl out to Duluth for a softball visit in the middle. I want to say when our official visits, probably January, or unofficial visits, and it was whenever it was the dead of winter. It was snowy, it was icy, it was cold, and the coach was like, "Yeah, we actually use underground tunnels to get to our classes because that's how cold it gets." And I was like, "You are not selling me on this, coach. Thank you, but no, thank you." So.
I respect the honesty that they had for you of like not trying to bring you in the summer to fool you, but like, no, if you're going to do this, you have to experience it in its fullness.
Yes, I was very grateful for the honesty because that was very cold. The food was amazing though. Food in Duluth was great.
It is incredible.
Yeah.
There's a lot of famous Minnesota foods like Booyah, Hot Dish, Juicy Lucy, all this stuff.
I don't know what the heck a Booyah is, and I think I'm embarrassed now that I've lived here for 4 years.
No, I didn't either. I had to look it up, but it's like it's a thing. But that's not what we're doing today. We're not talking about foods here today. Okay, we're talking about some sports.
I'd be down.
Let's all do some trivia here. Okay, Carly. One thing. Okay, we already know Carly. I've known her. We joined Focus staff at the same time. All these stuff like that. But one thing that the audience wouldn't know is that Carly loves her dog. And her dog is named Charlotte, which TMI, it's also the name of my wife's name. So sometimes she talks about Charlotte, and I'm like, oh, not the same being we're talking about here. All right, one thing that you're kind of known for, maybe not world famous, but maybe around your team and around our community, is you are really good at like knitting things, not only for yourself and others, but even for your dog. Where there's been a few costumes, I would say. I don't want to call them costumes, but, winter sweater. Didn't you also make a jersey for her at one point?
I did. My dog is decked out in so many clothes. She has her own jersey, like NCAA patch on the arm and everything because go big or go home. She has a homemade hand knit Christmas sweater every single year where I have to knit myself a matching one because if I'm going to go that big, I might as well go bigger.
Of course.
She is spoiled, let me tell you. Even though she hates the Christmas sweaters, it's fine.
Will she keep them on for extended period of time, or like do you put it on, get the picture, and that's about all she'll give you?
The funny thing is she'll keep it on, but like she doesn't realize she can still sit when she's wearing a sweater, which makes no sense. And so she'll just like stand there, really uncomfortable looking.
What?
But I'm like, you look so cute. I don't want to take it off, but I also want to let you sit because I can't be cruel. So we take a picture. I let her run around the house awkwardly for 5 minutes as she like tries to figure out how to prance in the sweater, and then I take it off.
Dang.
See, these are the things. And the reason why I bring this up is because when I listen to a podcast or an interview, I love hearing those little things that you would never know. It's like, oh,
True.
Coach B, she's got a dog and she knows how to knit Christmas sweaters for it. Like that's actually really talented and a fun fact.
That's what I do.
Is that what your
Monday
girls
night.
call you?
Coach B.
Sorry, is that what you're... Yeah.
It is. I am Coach B. And they laughed at me last night because I was proctoring their study tables as I was knitting my dog's Christmas sweater. And they're like, why do we have to do homework if you're not doing homework? And I said, well, I graduated a long time ago. I earned this.
Oh my gosh. So I coached before I joined Focus. You're still coaching in Focus a little bit here as well. Obviously, we'll get into that. But I got that all the time. People are like, you don't have to do this. I was like, guys, I already did it. You're missing the fact. Like, I already went past what you did. Like, I was a sophomore doing homework and playing. Like, I don't know what you're complaining about.
They don't get it.
So, all right. Let's dive into it. Let's hear about your story. Let's hear about your life journey, Carly. What attracted you to sports? Kind of like what got you into it just from right from the beginning?
Yeah, I don't remember there being a day where I wasn't doing something. So I grew up in this really small town, even smaller than Wahoo, which if you know Wahoo, you might find that hard to believe. But to me, Wahoo's a big metropolis because they deliver pizzas to your house, and I didn't know that was a thing. But as I was growing up, my parents taught in this really small school where it was like K-12. And I didn't realize it at the time. I actually just figured this out a couple of weeks ago, and I'm 30. So that says something where one of my parents, like every night would take us to this high school gym, and my older brother and I could just like do whatever we wanted. I was like this little kid, and we'd play basketball. We'd kick soccer balls around. We'd play like, whatever the gym hockey is called. I just found out like a week ago that it was because my other parent was always doing schoolwork late, and I didn't realize they were just taking turns of who was doing it. But I grew up my entire childhood just being in this gym. I'd practice my entrance as my dad would like announce me of, whatever my entrance would be. At that point, I thought I was going to play basketball at Nebraska. And then I realized a couple of years later that, that's just a lot of running. And I picked a sport where I didn't have to do that. But so I just grew up in this really athletic family. My older brother, who also works in collegiate athletics, ran cross country, played basketball, ran track. God bless him. He loves to run. I'll never understand. But I think I just learned to be competitive from him of like pick up basketball. I never ran with him, but I'd go pick him up and get to see his joy in that. So
you talked about your dad kind of announcing you. Did you guys ever imagine as a kid when you're like, I would do it against the pitchback because of softball, and you throw it and the ball comes back to you, but it's like you imagine the announcer and it's like, this is game 7 of the World Series and Mariah Godey is up to bat. Did you ever do that?
Oh, 100%. I would always wear this like black Nebraska basketball jersey. The last name on the back of it was Blackbird. To this day, I have no idea who the player was, but it was the coolest jersey ever. And I'd come running in and be like, from Cedar Bluffs, Nebraska, Carly Brousek, and I'd be like, down 3, 2 seconds left. And I was just eating it up. It was the best.
Yes. You like romanticize the sport, and it's like you're in the moment. It's the dream.
And then my mom would be like, go. It was awesome.
That's great.
I love it. Already, so we've been talking for like 12 minutes, not even. And you already mentioned a positive about your mom and your dad within kind of like your sports story. Does that continue throughout your story? Were they like a big influence in your life?
Yeah, I was blessed to grow up with just an incredibly supportive family where my mom and my dad I knew that I could always do anything because they believed in me. I don't think in all of my time they ever missed a game, or if they did, if Cody is my older brother, if he had a sporting event on the same day, they'd always split. And then it was one of those moments where I could be playing the worst game of my life, whether that be any sport that I was playing, and I could look in the stands and there were my mom and dad, like so excited. And so I just never had a moment where I just didn't know I was loved by them. It was incredible.
What was after your games, after your practices? what was we kind of talked about this a little bit last week in our last episode, but what was the vibe or when you would get in the car after your practices and games and you're like, yeah, your parents are in there. What was the words spoken? What was the vibe there?
Yeah, I remember when you're like a little kid, you'd always get like the juice box, and my mom would take me through Dairy Queen, or we'd go get like one of those big boppers from the gas station that was like a chocolate chip cookie, ice cream chocolate chip cookie. And it was the best. I was like, oh my gosh, I will always run as much as I have to get this ice cream, which is probably still why I want to get ice cream after every time I work out. But I also specifically remember, especially as I was growing up in high school, my dad would always ask after a game, we'd be like, I'd finish a home game and my house is less than a block from the softball field. So we'd literally walk home and we'd be sitting at the kitchen table. And my mom would be like, you're so good. You did so good. I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. Which is so funny because I was a catcher. And so it was like switching personalities. So like going from this like big bad catcher to like, oh, I'm honey and sweetheart and princess at home. And then my dad would always ask the question of like, tell me all about the game. Like, how was it? And so I'd get to recap the whole game to my dad, which I was always really confused about because I was like, oh, you were right there. But he just always wanted to hear it from my perspective, which was really cool.
Yeah. Did he continue asking you about that throughout, like, even in college? Like, would he always ask you about how your game was?
Yeah, it's so funny because looking back about how we were post-game when I was, like, 10 to how we were post-game when I was 22 was pretty much the same. My mom was like, Carly, you did so good, honey. You ran so, like, even if I wasn't playing, she was like, oh, you did so good with all of your responsibilities or whatever. And then my dad was always like, yeah, tell me all about it. And so I just got, I think no matter what, even now as a college coach, it's like same thing, right? As an older young woman, it's, you know, my mom always tells me after every game, because now they still get to travel to watch me coach, which is so funny. They like to say that they get to travel to watch me work, and that's just hilarious to me.
Dang.
But it's the same thing after every game. My mom was like, oh, you did so good coaching at first base over there. I saw you hand that kid that Sour Patch Kid. And then my dad still asked me for like the rundown of the game.
Wow.
Okay, I would imagine I'm putting myself as a, you know, prideful teenage boy. And like, you know, okay, thanks, Mom. Love you too, Dad, whatever. But at some points, especially if it was a bad game, that would be annoying for me.
Yeah.
Not to call him out, but was it ever really annoying for you?
I think my memory has blocked the times that I've lost because who just wants to remember the sad things, especially growing up. But I do remember after like the tough college games, right? When your season ends, your career ends. Yeah, they were probably really different where it was still like very much, I'm so proud of you, but more of like, I'm proud of you for like just doing your best today. And then my dad would be like, you know, nobody wants to hear about what they like, nobody wants to talk about what could have been better right after the game, but it was always one of my favorite things, like a day post game where I've had time to, especially as I got older and matured and I could cool down or even now in my coaching career, like the next day, it's like, yeah, what could have been different? Like what do you wish you would have seen differently? And so being able to also, with the relationship I have with my parents, being able to talk about that now and break it down is great.
Now, where does your relationship with God come in here? Well, your family was very faithful in practice and you had it all figured out, or was it a college experience, a high school experience? Where does God come into your sport?
Gosh, again, I'm just so lucky. And I think I owe a lot of this, again, to my parents, but to my brother. When I was growing up, it was never a question that Jesus was the center of everything. We went to Mass together as a family every Sunday. We prayed together every day. I was just enveloped in this like life where it's like everything was always going to be given to the Lord. But I actually attribute a lot of like what has come with my faith life to watching my older brother, because he just loved the Lord so radically when he was in high school and I was in elementary. And, you know, like when you're a kid, you just want to be like your older brother. So I remember watching him serve on the altar on Sundays and being like, whoa. Like, I would just like look at him and the way he looked at Jesus in the Eucharist and be like, well, he like sees it. And just wanting to be exactly like my brother. So like every kid, I was a punk. I don't know if you ever get out of that. Did I always know my identity was in the Lord? Absolutely not. I thought I was just a softball player and that's all I was. But I will say my parents and my family gave me all the keys that I needed for success. Did I believe all of those things and like buy into all of those things growing up? No, but I had them.
Did you have like a gut check moment then? Like you said, did I always know that my identity was like in God? No, I was a softball player. Did you have like a gut check moment of, oh shoot, my identity is not in this? Or did you have, was it like a gradual growth?
Yeah, good question. I was one of those kids where it was like, I thought my identity was in the Lord, where it was like, when I was in high school, I was going to daily mass, I was going to confession, I was doing these things, I was praying every day, but it wasn't until college when I was like, okay, I'm checking all of these boxes, and that was when I realized, I was like, oh, I'm checking all of these boxes. And it was my sophomore year of college. Again, had been going to daily mass, I had been trying to do all these things right, but deep down, I didn't realize my identity was still being in being a softball player, and it was November of my sophomore year of college, and I was in the weight room, and I was the strongest kid on my team at that point, besides this one upperclassman. I remember my coach telling me like a week before in an individual meeting that we were getting ready to max out. And she's like, I want you to win all of the max outs. Like, I want you to be the strongest. And I said, yes, ma'am. So we went into max out week, and we were doing deadlift, and I had done this really good weight. I was really proud of myself. I was like, yep, that's it. That's my max. Like, I can't do any more. I had beat everybody. So I was like, okay, I did what coach wanted. And this one stinking upperclassman popped out a higher weight out of nowhere. I was like, where the crust did that come from? So obviously I had to win. So I threw more weight on the bar and was halfway up in my rep. My team was screaming at me, like all circled around me. Love on Top by Beyonce was playing. I still vividly remember where we were at in the song. And I felt my back crack and go and like give. But I was halfway up, so obviously I finished my rep because I was going to go out on top.
Yeah.
And I broke my back that day. And I think that was, in the rehab of that, I remember, getting put on bed rest, having to take a medical red shirt pretty much. And then it was the following year where I thought I was going to be the starter again, was on track in my mind to do really well. And coach pulled me into her office and was like, Carly, I see that you're working so hard. But it was like, I have to play the other kid because you're just not able to move the same.
Gosh.
And I remember going to the chapel and just, at that point in my life, I didn't really cry ever. And I just remember going to the chapel and just sobbing of like, Jesus, what is this? And I remember just like the missionary who was investing at the time came in and was shocked because I never cried. And here I am weeping in front of the Lord. And she came in and sat by me. She's like, Carly, what's going on? And I looked at her. I was like, Carrie, I have no worth anymore. Like, the only reason people ever loved me was because I could do this and I could hit the ball really far. And like,
Gosh.
What am I supposed to say to the Lord now because he gave me this gift and now it's gone and all of these things. And she raised my head to look at the Lord in the precious sacrament and was like, don't you see that the only thing that matters is you're his and all these other things are just an added thing. And I think that was the moment for me where I had this gut check of like, I've only ever thought of myself of being worthy of love because I was good at hitting a ball and throwing a ball really hard. And none of it mattered. So I think that was the moment back, 2015 that everything changed.
Dang.
Gosh.
A quick comic relief. You broke your back to Love on Top by Beyonce. I just can't get that out of my head. I'm sorry.
The thing is I still love the song. Like, when it comes on, I'm still going to like...
It's not traumatic?
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but...
I mean, because that was like a pivotal moment in your life, and that's proof that the Lord brings good out of everything. Because that was probably the lowest moment, one of the lowest moments of your life, and then now it's like you still bopped that song. So,
well, the ultimate love and the love that is on the top is God's love, anyway. So I mean, there we go. We're connected. Okay, I'm done.
I can tell Brady's a dad.
Now I'm gonna hear Beyonce and just thinking about the Lord's love for me. So that's better than most Beyonce songs.
True. Wow, Carly,
totally
that is
derailed
crazy.
That.
Yeah, that's okay. No, we're good. That is crazy, Carly, because even just having injuries myself in my career, knowing that deepness of that pain, but it's crazy that you were in the chapel and you weren't even grieving really the fact that you weren't playing. Your first words to your missionary were like, I am not loved anymore. Like, I cannot be loved anymore because I can't bring anything to the table. Like, it wasn't because you were sad about your sport. Maybe that was some of it, of course, but those are the words out of your mouth. And it's just like, how many people, how many athletes, how many of our athletes are feeling that way of like, this is the only way, the only worth that I bring to anybody, which is just sad.
So did that change your relationship with God in that moment? Were you like, because like you said, like, I've had all these practical things growing up. Your parents set you up well. You were going to mass, but maybe it was at the moment it like hit where who you actually were in God's eyes.
Yeah, I would love to say it was this like complete 180 of like, in that moment, I knew that I was like this beloved daughter. And, you know, he definitely revealed so many truths to me that night, but I think it took a long time. My prayer had to change because I realized, I'd been praying every day, but my prayer had been like, oh, Jesus, I'm so sorry. I let 2 balls go between my legs today and I struck out. I'm so sorry. Like, I, have let you down or whatever. To being like, oh, Jesus, like, that's like not what I need to so I had to relearn how to pray. And I think that was the moment that I also had to look back, and because I was asking her, like, how the heck do I pray then if I'm not praying about softball? Because that's all that I really know how to do, apparently. And somebody was like, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, sorry. Go ahead.
Somebody was like, oh, just like tell the Father about your day. And I was like, okay. So I went to the chapel and I sat there and I was like, okay, Father, I'm supposed to tell you about my day, but I don't know what you want to know because you're, I know that you're all knowing. So you actually already know everything. What am I supposed to tell you here? And it was such a gift in that moment because I had this flashback to back when I was in high school and I was sitting at the kitchen table with my dad how many years ago. He was like, tell me about the game. Tell me about it. And I was like, Dad, you were there. Like you were sitting right there. What do you mean? And he was like, I just want to hear about it from your perspective. Like, I want to hear what was going through your mind. And then I had that flashback moment, that moment in prayer. I was like, oh, Father, you just want to hear about it from my perspective. Yeah, you've seen it, but you just like want to hear me tell you about it. And I think that was one of the pivotal moments in the change in my relationship too, is I just learned what it looked like to tell the Father about my day.
Yeah.
Wow. That is incredible. Ryan, did you have a follow-up with her?
I'm just so fascinated by this right now because of, like you're saying with your dad, like this, I'm wondering if you're a people pleaser. Are you a people pleaser?
Yeah, I can't even deny it.
Yeah, because it's like, the way that you've described your parents, at least in this podcast, is like this pressure that you felt is not really coming from your father. Like the way that you viewed God and your relationship to him and him wanting to do well, him wanting you to do well, wasn't this like pressure. It was just, it came from you just wanting to please people. So it's not even necessarily that you need to have like a poor relationship with your father or someone exemplified it to you wrong, but it's just that sometimes it's like in our personalities or in our natures to want to bring something to the table in order to be worthy of something.
Yeah, that's so right, because my parents, like, in all of the ways that they loved me growing up, never would I have thought from the way they loved me that my identity was just in this one thing that I was good at.
Yeah, exactly. I think because some people might be hearing this to be like, dang, I wish I had parents like that, or I wish, these certain things were different. But your story is incredible. Just how you got to that point where you had that relationship with God the Father, even though it echoes back to mine. I haven't told the audience my story, but like I always was like faithful with the Lord, grew up in Catholic schools, but like it didn't hit until really later on. Sometimes we need that event. But today it's about you, not about me. So you had this relationship, so your identity is kind of shifting a little bit. And then obviously we know that you became a focused missionary, but we're in college, you're hurt and you're here, and then you become a focused missionary. How did that happen? What came in between there?
Yeah, if you would have told me I was going to be a focused missionary in college, I probably would have been like, haha, you're so funny. But the Lord just so radically changed my heart. I went on a focused mission trip to Panama where I met a best friend who just loved me authentically. And I think that was the first time I'd experienced a friendship like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, friendships can lead you to Jesus. That's wild. And I went back to campus, and through that, I had just been so inspired of like, no, I'm going to go preach the gospel to my teammates. Like, my life has been changed. They deserve to know. Why would I keep this to myself? So I started a Bible study with my team, and I went to a pretty small college. And so there was a lot of just female athletes from the university that were in it. And I fell in love with just getting to walk with them and like helping them encounter Jesus, and through that encountering the love of the Father, where it came to be my senior year, and I was earning my degree in English and was discerning a couple of things with my life. But the Lord, my missionary made me apply. I'm going to be really honest. When it came to vocation, she was
Classic.
took me out to Wings at, the Zoo Bar in Aberdeen, South Dakota. And she was like, so I'm buying you wings, but I need you to know that we're taking them to go and you're going to go work on this application. I was like, what? And so applied, went to the recruitment weekend, and I was like, Jesus, I don't want to do this. Like, I have other things that I've planned for my life, but I have a feeling you're asking me to surrender. So I'm going to go as long as you open the door for me here. And had a great time at recruitment weekend, but I wasn't going to admit that to myself. So when the offer call came in, I was like, Jesus, I promised I'd go through the door if you opened it. So said yes to staff. It was one of the greatest decisions I've ever made in my entire life. And it, shows, because it's been 8 years and I'm still here.
You're still here. And that's providential, because you thought you had a plan, but you had an English major, so you didn't have a plan. I mean, what are you going to do with that? Teach high school just like your parents? I mean, come on.
The dream was to go into publishing. I love proofreading. If anybody ever needs anything proofread, that is my jam.
Wow. We'll put her email in the description below, so you can just send over all your papers.
My players take full advantage of it, let me tell you.
Yeah, I bet.
Now, you just mentioned there, too, that you are still 8 years in focus, just like I am. However, everybody listening to this, like, wait, I thought she was a softball coach. So you're doing both. So how did you become a coach? Why are you still a missionary and coaching? How does this all happen?
I have the best tool job in the country. I don't think anybody can convince me differently. So when I was a missionary, I served 3 years on campus. I served 2 years at the University of Wisconsin-Platteville, Swing the Axe, and 1 year at Northwest Missouri State, UABAB. And when I was at Platteville, I was serving as a Varsity Catholic missionary, and I had told Jesus, I'd been so wounded in my collegiate athletic career, right? Going through of like this identity crisis, all of these things, where I was so wounded by the sport of softball that I was like, okay, Jesus, I will outreach to athletes, but I will not outreach to the softball team. I refuse. And Jesus is so funny, because the only open door I had in the athletic department was to the softball team. And I said, okay, cool. I got it, Lord. And so I started helping out with softball, and, through that kind of became more of like a volunteer assistant with the softball team as I was investing in the women for Bible study. And I just fell back in love with the game in a different way, because I realized, oh, you can do this and still reveal to women their true identity. Oh, you can do this and like love women authentically, and show up for them and show them the love of the Father through this thing. So after my 3 years kind of on campus were wrapping up, I was like, okay, Jesus, I'm open to whatever you are calling me to. I think I am interested in pursuing, getting into the collegiate world and coaching collegiately, or if you want me to continue to be your missionary, then you have my utter resounding yes. And it was less than 2 hours later, my phone started to ring from the Platteville coach.
Wow.
And she was like, hey, I want to offer you to like come back and be my assistant, but like it's not full time. Most assistant jobs at my level aren't. So I remember sitting with that and, talking to people who worked for the VC national team, like Thomas Wirtz, about it. I'm like, hey, I like have this desire and I don't know what to do, because I love mission and I don't know how to say goodbye to this thing that is so good. And I actually don't think the Lord is calling me to that, but also this door is open. And he was like, wow. Well, why wouldn't you do both? And I was like, that's an option.
¿Por qué no los dos?
Exactly. And so I got to give both my utter yes, like just this resounding yes of like, heck yeah. So now I work for the BC national team. I oversee 20 missionaries across the country. You might be confused because I mentioned Platteville called me, and I'm now at the University of Minnesota Duluth, but coached at Platteville for a year, and then got the opportunity to move up a division to Division 2, and now I'm at the University of Minnesota Duluth, and it is the best. I love it here so much.
Let's go. I think
God is so providential.
He really is.
Literally.
Wild.
Well, and going off of that, I kind of had a similar experience kind of moving into college world of like wanting to avoid softball because of wounds. And it's crazy because humans are just like, I do not want to go there if it hurts. Like, it has hurt in the past. I know it hurts. I'm not going there. And God is like, okay, let's actually put you right in the midst of it, and let's continue to heal you through that exact exposure to that. And now here you are, however many years later, still, I'm sure, healing in ways from in softball, through softball, with softball. Like Brady and I talk about it all the time. God uses sport to help us to grow, to help us to heal, to help us bring us closer to Him. So with that being said, like, what's one thing that maybe you experienced as a player, or maybe some of those wounds that came in as a player, that now the Lord has kind of reshaped for you as a coach? Like, how do you transform that as a coach to ensure that maybe A, your players don't have that same experience, or B, if they do, that they know where to bring it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. So I think one of the wounds that a lot of athletes feel is, like, let's say you have a poor performance at practice or a poor performance in a game, you just automatically assume your coach hates you. Mm-hmm. Even if they don't do anything that makes you think that, you're like, coach hates me because I struck out 3 times with runners on third base. Wow. Or at least that's one of the things that I would go home from a practice or a game feeling so defeated and so unwanted or unloved by my coach, even if they didn't do anything to perpetuate that. And so now I think through a lot of healing, I've gotten to, there's this moment, or I think and my kids know it, where it's like, okay, Coach B is going to be really intense in the game. Obviously, I want to win. And maybe it doesn't go well, or a kid strikes out, or all of these things, where I just get to receive them. And not coddle them, because that doesn't help anybody grow, but I get to receive them and be like, hey, I believe in you and we can do this together. Or maybe it's like we have a tough game and we're walking back to the bus, and I can see that they're avoiding my eye contact, where it's like, oh no, I can approach them and be like, hey, it's okay. We can be upset about the game, but I'm not mad at you. Unless you're not trying, that's a different question or a different thing altogether. But I think just being able to be with women in that space that's really tough and really emotional and could lead to a lot of wounds, and just being able to show up and say, that's not who you are. That performance is not who you are. This game is not who you are. I see who you are, and that's the person that I love. So
one of my favorite parts about being a Varsity Catholic missionary is we can speak to the hearts of the athletes in the sports world where we've been, and we know what it's like. We don't know every single situation, but we understand the culture. We understand what it's like. So often when we're working with missionaries, all 3 of us have done this, but it's very much so realizing, hey, if you, X person, Carly, Rye, myself, weren't there, that conversation wouldn't have happened. Therefore, whatever fruit came from that wouldn't have happened. So our yeses to be on mission is massive. And it comes from, again, a relationship with God, having your identity in Him. Then you say yes to go on mission, and that can look like a lot of different things. Specifically for us in Focus in Varsity Catholic, it's outreach into those student athletes, those coaches is on campus like yourself. And I'm thinking, you are a missionary, but you're not like the full-time VC missionary on campus right now. However, one thing that I know you do is that you lead the team devotionals on away games on Sundays, which, again, if you weren't a missionary, you probably wouldn't have the competence, skills, confidence to do that. And then now that you're a coach, also, you have the platform to use that for good too. So I just want you to tell me okay, how did that develop? I'm sure you didn't just go there and leading team devotionals day one. At the same time, you developed this relationship with your kids. You call them your kids a lot, your players. How are you taking that mission, that M, from being a missionary and also bringing it into the coaching world?
Guys, I just love my kids so much. I swear I have 24 children at the age of 30, and I just wouldn't trade it for the world.
It's a lot of birthday presents.
It is a lot of birthday presents. They just get candy from my office. They're a little upset with me right now because the candy jar is empty. But as far as the Sunday devotionals things go, when we're on the road, Mass is a priority for me. In the softball world, we always play on Sunday. I'm usually on the road on Sunday. And it's not a question of oh, maybe I'll make it, maybe I won't, maybe I'll just have to go to confession on Monday. My job is not going to be the reason that I'm not going to enter through the pearly gates someday. I refuse. And so, I was always getting to go to Mass, I'd find an Uber, but then there's so many of my women who love the Lord, and all of their denominations that they practice. And my heart was just breaking because I was like, I get to go worship Jesus and they don't. And so I just, out of boldness, I was terrified to ask the question because I was like, okay, I work at a public university. I don't know how this is going to go. So I went and asked my head coach of like, hey, what would your thoughts be on this? He's like, heck yeah. So I was talking to my players about it and they were like, Coach B, this would be the best. And so now Sundays when we're on the road, wow. Typically the Mass I get to go to is at 7, is what I'm learning. And so my kids are all willing to get up. We meet in the hotel lobby usually at about 6 a.m. Wow. God bless them for being willing to wake up that early. They all come, a little bleary-eyed and with their coffee in hand, and to get to pour over scripture together and be like, okay, how can we run to the Lord together today? Like, how can we worship Jesus today in this gift he has given us to play softball? And it has been the most beautiful gift to just run with them in that. And then I get to go to Mass and, worship the Lord in the Most Holy Sacrament. But just getting to be with them in that small moment, the 30 minutes that we get together it's going to be one of the things I look back on for the rest of my coaching career and say, oh, that was the start of something really different and really special.
I was just thinking that you said to start, like, you're 30 years old. We'll see where this goes when you retire in the Hall of Fame somewhere.
Yeah. And something that they remember, like not just you from your coaching career, but how unique to have a coach who leads them in scripture every Sunday in their tournaments. Like, that is awesome.
Gosh, I hope they remember it.
I guarantee you they will.
You've brought up so many good things. I want to give you the platform right now, and you can pass here because it's kind of on the spot. So I'm giving you the freedom to do that. But you've got an audience right now, and we're not world famous by any means, but theoretically there's a lot of athletes and coaches listening to us, and I think they've gotten a lot from what you've said in your story already. But I just want to give you the platform that, hey, you got it. Is there anything you want to tell them? Anything you think, a message you want to send to the world right now?
Come, Holy Spirit. I think I just want everybody to know how irrevocably in love with them that the Father is. How, the Father is captivated by you. Like, he has created you so good. And we're all going to struggle with, yeah, but who am I? You're the Father's. That's the only answer you ever need. And I just wish every person could know that. I hope that's something that every woman who I encounter, every woman who my coach knows, it's just like, oh, Coach B loves me differently because she's trying to love me with the love of the Father. And so I think the thing I would tell everybody is, like, you are precious because you are his. Like, yeah, maybe you don't identify with, like, oh yeah, I'm the princess because I'm the daughter to the king, but like, no matter what speaks to you in prayer, I just want you to come back to, I am his and he is mine, and there's nothing more that matters.
And what a great lesson for us too, of trying to love like the Father. Like, love that. Thank you for saying that. Hits deep always. But then also to flip it on its head and like you said, as coaches or as missionaries or as teammates, if we know the love of the Father, or at least learning to know it, to strive, like you said, like, he loves me differently because she loves me with the love of the Father, or tries to love me with the love of the Father. So how can we do that in our daily lives to exemplify his love to others?
Boom. Let's go. That's incredible. Rod, do you have any final questions for Carly? We could probably go for 4 hours, but...
Yeah, I was going to say, Carly, I have a lot more questions. I feel like every time I talk to Carly, I end up getting full body chills, like, every single time. So thank you for that multiple times today. Thank you for just being a great example of a coach and a great missionary. And thanks for serving in so many different ways on your campus and in Focus and all the things that you do. I'm just very grateful to know you.
This is excellent. This is going to accidentally get Carly some just 5-star recruit, because I'd be like, I want to be coached by that girl right there. We're accidentally marketing for UMD Bulldogs right now, just giving them a top athlete.
Do you guys
from California.
Bark for Bulldogs? Do you bark? Like, what's the...
That'd be so fun. No. Well, I guess my kids do in the huddle, but I never do.
Okay.
because that's just, I think they would laugh at me. There are some things that I do that they're like, what are you doing?
Hey, but your identity is not in what they find.
I'm like, I'm free
whatever.
because I'm loved.
Yeah.
Here, do you guys want to see my kids? I'll show them to you.
Shout out, kids. Shout out.
Look at my kids.
Bulldogs.
Aren't
Let's
they
go.
That's cute. That's a big family, Carly. I love it. Well, that's a wrap for our Varsity Catholic podcast today. Guys, check out more of what we do on Instagram at Varsity Catholic. Share this with a friend. Share this with a teammate. Make sure to bump those like, follow, subscribe buttons so that you can not only keep up with the content we're delivering, but also you can help others to realize their relationship, their identity, and their mission, the purpose beyond the game. So always remember to compete well, finish the race, and keep the faith.